What a second half in B-more. Down 7 inside a minute. A sight you saw all night. Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase ×3. Chase's 3rd touchdown reception of the night. 264 yards to go with it. We're going for 2. But they wouldn't get it. Cincinnati elects to try and win the game right there on the goal line. Potentially 2 missed penalties on that play with a defensive holding and hands to Burrow's face, but no flag seen. 35-34. In disbelief, Cincinnati falls at the hands of the Baltimore Ravens. A thriller on a Thursday night. Here to break it all down, Joe Musso, Emory Hunt, Bryant McFadden joining us as well. Gentlemen, exciting action. Second half showed us 48 total points after just 21 in the first half. Emory, we've sat here time and again before and sort of parsed decisions, and we have to do that first and foremost here. What did you make of the decision to go for 2 on the road, chasing 1 point?
And we always come to this point of how well is your offense playing determines whether or not you go for 2. Their offense clearly marched all the way down the field. They were 3 for 3 in the red zone. Go for 2 in this situation. Go for the win. You had all the matchups in your favor. I like the call. I like the fact that they went out there and tried to go out on their own accord. Just fell a bit short. But again, when you're 3 for 3 inside the red zone and you've moved the football up and down the field with your passing game, I understand why you want to go for 2 in that situation. Because again, you don't want to give Lamar Jackson and that Baltimore Ravens offense with Justin Tucker, even though he's been a little iffy with the football left with those 2 timeouts and that much time left on the clock.
I'm right there with you. I love the call going for 2 because there was a rhythm, a positive rhythm established during that drive. Joe Burrow was cooking. The entire offense was cooking. Jamar Chase was cooking. I love the decision to go for 2. I don't like the execution of the play. And what I mean when I say that, guys, is because you threw to a backup tight end. Joe Burrow, you was magnificent tonight. But in that particular play, if you're throwing to anyone, it has to be 1. And if you're not throwing to 1, you throw to your next best pass catcher, Gesicki. When you look at what got them down there, throwing the football to Jamar Chase. And if you look at that 2-point play, once again, Jamar Chase had a one-on-one opportunity against Stevens. I take that chance. I take that chance and get the football to my best playmaker. Because 2 things have happened when we watch this game tonight, guys. Anytime Joe Burrow was targeting Jamar Chase, he either was catching the football or drawing a penalty. In either case, it's a positive for the Cincinnati Bengals. Yes, they missed 2 definite penalties against the Ravens. The officials missed that. But when you talk about executing the play and where I'm going to football, it's almost like being in a game-winning situation and you got Michael Jordan on the floor. Nobody else should take the shot. He is the only person that should take the shot. In that case for Cincy, if I'm throwing the football, guys, I'm targeting 1. And if all else fails, the next guy I'm targeting is Mike Gesicki.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Mac. And we saw a matchup that maybe looked a little cleaner even before the timeout was called and they came back out in a different look. Still had his one-on-one up top, but a little muddier up there with Marlon Humphrey sort of playing some space near Jamar Chase. 11 receptions on 17 targets, 264 yards, 3 touchdowns. Just needed 1 more target. I am in agreement with Bryant McFadden in that realm. Let's go back because this game was, at certain points, as human as we've seen this Ravens offense look, held in check in the first half, not till a Chase Brown fumble, chasing 2 touchdowns, was this offense ignited. Mac, where did you see them flip the script offensively in the second half, Baltimore, calling upon what we've come to expect of them?
Well, the fumble definitely initiated some positivity for Baltimore, right? When you talk about having a short field to work from, great field position, scoring. That kind of jump-started the momentum. But for me, what really jump-started everything was the Tylan Wallace touchdown. 84-yard touchdown reception by Wallace, the longest passing play of Lamar Jackson's career, right? And when you look at that play, guys, you had 3 guys that had an opportunity to get him down and push him out of bounds. That's effort. That's hustling. You have to find a way to get him out of bounds. He was an inch from the sideline. There lies the defining play for me, Joe, Emory, right there. Because it wasn't like it was a blown coverage in the back end and he was by himself. Tylan was by himself. No, It was a great executed play, but 3 guys had an opportunity to at least, at the bare minimum, push him out of bounds. And there lies what happened. 84 yards later, everything switched in favor of the Baltimore Ravens, and now the pressure was all on the Cincinnati Bengals. So for me, guys, there was a lot of defining moments for me, but that was the defining play that kind of got everything going in favor of the Ravens.
4 consecutive touchdown drives in the second half after scoring 7 points on 7 drives in the first half, this Baltimore team. Where did you see the difference?
Well, it's a situational football dream for a coach because in the first quarter, remember, they barely had the football. They had 3 plays while Cincinnati had 20 plays, so they wasn't really on the field. And once they got on the field and got their offense really going, they were 7 out of 12 on third downs. They were 4 for 4 inside the red zone. So situational football is where Baltimore was able to get back into this game, subsequently take the lead, and ultimately win the ball game. So when you're excelling third down offense, red zone offense, you talked about B-Mac, the long touchdown pass in Lamar Jackson's history. That's backed up offense. So they were great situationally. That's why they were able to not only come back in this ball game, but ultimately win this thing against a very good game Cincinnati Bengals team.
Baltimore 7-1 since that 0-2 start, so 7-3 on the season. That is 7-3, 2-10 games for the 4th consecutive season. They will build from here. They will get better, but they have an issue. This is a defensive backfield that just gave up 428 passing yards to Joe Burrow in this offense. A lot of firepower in it, not taking anything away from Cincinnati, but that is a sieve back there. I mean, at a certain point, we saw 3 consecutive go routes. Joe Burrow identified something in that secondary and said, let's just run a go at him and see if they can stop the 9 route, and they couldn't in that instance for Jamar Chase. Mac, as you assess the defensive backfield, now down Kyle Hamilton, who missed the remainder of this game after injuring his ankle in the first half, where do you see the issues, and are they fixable throughout this season, or is this the limiting factor to a great team?
Well, I guess at this point in time, guys, we got to just trust the Baltimore Ravens to be who they've shown all of us that they are. A bad team in the secondary. They're dead last. They do a great job in run defense, but pass defense, they're dead last. So what needs to be done, the issues that I'm seeing is they're horrible in zone drops. When you talk about dropping in your zone coverage in spots, they're horrible. They don't communicate in the back end when it comes to the linebackers and the guys in the back end. No communication, no transparency. And because of that, that's where we're seeing holes. And then also, too, people, they're not on the same page. One thing Dick LeBeau used to tell us all the time, if you guys are playing the wrong coverage from what I called, I'm okay with it as long as everybody's doing the same thing. But if half of you guys are playing cover 3 and the other half are playing cover 2, I have an issue with that because no one is on the same page. And these offenses, these quarterbacks will exploit that. How many splash plays have we seen? That's been an issue for Baltimore, especially when they play against Jamar Chase. So schematically speaking, they got to find a way to fine-tune their scheme, the communication. Because, yes, you traded for Trey White from the Rams, but there's only so much he can do, right? There's only so much he can do. Luckily enough, they have Lamar Jackson. Because if they didn't have Lamar Jackson, this would be a very, very bad team.
Listen, we talked about it all throughout the game, Joe, how...
Anytime the analysis starts with... Listen, listen. You know he's coming for these DBs.
Yeah, because here's the thing: it's a combination of things. No pressure. We talked about that a lot. How they could not get to Joe Burrow throughout the course of the game. In spurts, they got it. So you got no pressure up front, combined with the free safety with bad eyes, like always looking in the wrong spots, allowing guys to get deep down the field. To B-Mac's point about the communication, if I can't trust my free safety to be deeper than the deepest, then we're in trouble because we're going to just let guys fly through. Then you have the other element, the penalties. 11 penalties for 81 yards tonight for Baltimore. Some of that was on offense, but for the most part, you have a defensive backfield that's grabby, a little bit holding, personal fouls, combined with no pressure, combined with DBs with eyes in the wrong spot. And it's no wonder you get 47-something odd passes by Joe Burrow and over 400 yards passing, and everybody got a touchdown. So they have to get better on the secondary, but they got to find a way to generate pressure. I know it's easier said than done. I know they just recently released Yannick Ngakoue and hope to get him back on the practice squad. Probably could have used him tonight to try to gain a pass rush on Joe Burrow. That's been the biggest issue with Baltimore.
This is just the 5th game in NFL history where both quarterbacks had 4 or more touchdown passes and no interceptions between them. This was high-level stuff from both of these quarterbacks who go head-to-head, and that head-to-head advantage remains in the hands of Lamar Jackson. Joe Burrow still yet to figure out those Ravens issues when Lamar is the one opposite playing quarterback for the Ravens. We know most of those wins have come with Lamar injured. Emory, you said something to me pregame that a loss here would not be the limiting factor to the season for the Cincinnati Bengals. You think that this team is still alive and well in the playoff chase. We're going to get to a broader playoff conversation here in just a moment, but Emory, tell me the road to success from here for Cincinnati. I mean, you lay it all out there. You rack up the yardage, you score the points, and you still walk away a loser.
But here's the thing. How many teams are like Baltimore that can match points with you? If you're Cincinnati, that's where you have the advantage. Okay, we can score, and we've seen this all throughout history. Teams that can score, like let's say the 99 Rams, right? Their defense was like 16th in the NFL that year, but they were #1 in points scored. So if you can score, you're going to always have a puncher's chance, and Cincinnati definitely has that. You look at the rest of the schedule, they got a chance to rack up some victories because you look at the opposing offenses they'll face. Can they keep pace with this team? And I love the fact that they concentrated on our goal tonight was to put the ball in Joe Burrow's hands and let him lead us to victory. We kind of talked about their inability to run the football, but they leaned in on who they were and where their skills were on the perimeter. Let him just lead the way, use that as a supplement to the run game, and they were able to have that to success. So they can win by scoring more points than other team. I know that's the name of the game, but they can do that because they have the offense.
Week 18 against the Steelers could be big-time playoff and wild card implications in that matchup, Mac. We got plenty of time between now and then. But for now, Bryant, McFadden, Emory Hunt, we appreciate the insight. So we take a look at largest comeback wins by the Ravens. Only one larger than this 14-point comeback. You know, front runners. In the best way possible. They score on you, they score early, they score often. Slow to start in this one, but pedal to the floor in the second half. A winner in a big way. Baltimore over Cincinnati.